In the final moments before an execution, whether by lethal injection or the electric chair, every inmate is granted one last chance to speak. A single moment where the world goes silent. And their final words become their legacy. Some use that breath to search for forgiveness. Others unleash chilling statements meant to disturb anyone listening. Throughout history, these final moments have produced some of the most haunting sentences ever spoken. And today, Absolute Facts is taking you deep inside the last words that echo long after the cell doors close. These are the top 10 scariest last words from prison inmates' final statements that will stay with you long after this video ends. Number 10. Robert Alton Harris. Before the gas chamber doors sealed shut, Harris delivered a line that still chills anyone who hears it. You can be a king or a street sweeper, but everyone dances with the Grim Reaper. What makes those words even darker is the trail of violence that led him there. Back in 1978, Harris and his brother hijacked a car carrying 2 teenage boys, forcing them to drive to a remote area where the brothers brutally ended their lives so violently that one of the victims' own fathers, an arresting officer, couldn't even recognize his son's face. The brothers then used the stolen car to rob a San Diego bank, but Harris's freedom was brief. He was arrested just an hour later and charged with murder, kidnapping, auto theft, burglary, and robbery. Sentenced to death in 1979, he spent years fighting appeals before finally being executed in San Quentin's gas chamber on the 21st of April 1992. And in the end, his haunting last words became the final chapter of a life marked by unimaginable brutality. Number 9. George Engel. His final words were shouted, not whispered, "Hurrah for anarchy. This is the happiest moment of my life." It's hard to imagine such defiance in the face of death, but Engel had lived his life challenging every rule placed in front of him. A fierce anarchist and outspoken activist in Chicago, he spent years pushing against systems he believed were unjust. But everything changed after the infamous Haymarket Square bombing, a chaotic explosion that left 7 police officers and 4 civilians dead, with many more wounded. Engel wasn't even at the scene. He was at home playing cards when the riot erupted. Yet by the next day, he was arrested, accused of conspiring in the attack, and swept into a trial that would end with a death sentence. When the moment of execution arrived, there was no fear, no hesitation, only a final cry of rebellion as he stepped toward the gallows, convinced he was dying for a cause he believed in more deeply than his own life. Number 8. Roger Keith Coleman. His final words weren't a whisper of regret. They were a declaration that shook the entire nation. An innocent man is going to be murdered tonight. For years, Roger Keith Coleman insisted he had been wrongfully convicted, holding on to that claim right up until the last moments of his life. His case ignited headlines, protests, and fierce debates as the nation watched a man walk toward execution while maintaining unwavering innocence. Coleman had been convicted in Virginia for the assault and murder of his sister-in-law, a crime committed on the very day he lost his job. Despite the court's verdict, he fought relentlessly to clear his name and used his final breath to challenge America's faith in the justice system. But the story didn't end with his execution. Years later, in 2006, the DNA evidence was re-examined, and the governor announced the results. The tests conclusively proved Coleman was guilty. It was a revelation that closed one of the most controversial chapters in death penalty history, but it didn't silence the echoes of a man who died declaring he was innocent. Number 7. Timothy McVeigh. Before walking into history as one of the most notorious domestic terrorists in the United States, McVeigh declared with chilling resolve, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." He was the mastermind behind the Oklahoma City bombing, an attack that killed 168 people and injured over 680 others, the deadliest act of domestic terrorism on American soil. McVeigh's execution was set for the 11th of June, 2001, and though he requested it be broadcast publicly, that motion was denied. Yet even in his final hours, he crafted the moment with striking precision. He requested a Catholic chaplain by his side, classical music performed for the room, and 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream as his last indulgence. Remarkably, his time on death row was brief, only 4 years, far shorter than the average 15-year wait most inmates endure. And when the lethal injection was administered, McVeigh's calm composure and defiant words became the final chapter in a story of destruction, obsession, and chilling self-assurance. Number 6. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer's name remains synonymous with horror. Between 1978 and 1991, he murdered 17 men and boys, committing acts so disturbing they barely seem real. Though responsible for some of the most shocking crimes in American history, he never received the death penalty and instead lived out his final years behind bars. Prisoners often watched his bizarre behavior, convinced he embodied pure evil. During a routine work detail, another inmate attacked him, ending Dahmer's life. His final words were as cold as his crimes. "I don't care if I live or die. Go ahead and kill me." Number 5. Tom Black Jack Ketchum. Tom Black Jack Ketchum was a notorious cowboy outlaw, known for murder and a trail of train robberies across New Mexico. After a failed heist, he was captured, quickly tried, and sentenced to death, the first hanging for train robbery in the region. On the gallows, he smirked and said, "I'll be in hell before you start breakfast, boys." Let her rip. But what followed was more horrific than anyone expected. The rope snapped with such force that it decapitated him instantly, leaving witnesses in stunned silence. Number 4. John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown, entertained children as Pogo the Clown while secretly murdering at least 33 young boys, burying many of them beneath his home. In 1980, overwhelming evidence led to multiple death sentences and life terms. When his execution day came after 14 years on death row, Gacy showed no remorse and left the world with some of the most defiant final words ever spoken: "Kiss my ass." Number 3. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos lived a tragic, violent life that ultimately turned her into one of America's most notorious female serial killers. She murdered 7 men along Florida highways, claiming each killing was an act of self-defense. Convicted of 6 of the murders, she was sentenced to death. On the 9th of October 2002, moments before her execution, Wuornos delivered haunting final words: "I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus' big mothership and all." Her last statement left an eerie silence, offering a final glimpse into her tormented world. Number 2. Carl Panzram. Carl Panzram became one of America's most feared criminals, living under numerous aliases as he committed murders, assaults, arsons, and robberies across the country. After his capture in 1928, he confessed to killing 21 people and assaulting hundreds more. Standing on the gallows, he showed no remorse. His final words were a chilling summary of his life: "I have murdered 21 human beings, and I am not in the least bit sorry." His last breath cemented his legacy as one of history's darkest figures. Number 1. The Vampire of Dusseldorf. Known for attempting to drink the blood of his victims, the Vampire of Dusseldorf carried out a reign of terror marked by murder and brutal assaults. He was eventually captured and sentenced to death by beheading for his crimes. On the night before his execution, he calmly ate Wiener Schnitzel, fried potatoes, and white wine. Just before the blade fell, he asked, "After my head has been chopped off, will I still be able to hear the sound of my own blood gushing from my neck? That would be a pleasure to end all pleasures." His morbid curiosity became one of the most disturbing final statements ever recorded.